of Lionel Messi himself. Rosario, it is ulabalu, it is beautiful confusion, it is happiness clogged with sadness because just some minutes ago it looked like they were losing it, some minutes after they were winning, some minutes after they were losing, winning, and finally Lionel Messi has probably achieved that GOAT status. But one thing is certain, he has laid his hands on the golden trophy that every footballer, alive or dead, wants to have in their possession. Lionel Messi and Argentina have won the World Cup. Diego is probably smiling from heaven right now and saying, Leo, congratulations. Abiodun Adewale, what a dramatic encounter.
Of course, poetic, dramatic, frenetic, and it gave us all the ticks in the boxes that we wanted, because I'm very sure at this point, everybody would, one, be entertained. Everybody who wanted even France to win would be satisfied to some extent, because it was a fight from start till finish. In other time, Argentina added one more goal, but they came back stronger. And of course, the man you will want to be in the middle of it all, Kylian Mbappe, was there, took the center stage, scored a hat-trick in the final, faced a goalkeeper 3 times throughout the duration of the game in a penalty, and converted.
And it was into the same position.
Into the same position. So a lot of people will be satisfied now, just watch back, sit back and relax and see Lionel Messi enjoy the final moments that he will share during the FIFA World Cup. And finally, he has laid his hand on that golden trophy. Every footballer alive definitely wants to lift it. I
think Lionel Messi, for the first time in a while, had players, had teammates who could drag him along, because in about 2 or 3 of those games, it wasn't the determining factor, even though it was a big name. In the penalty shootout they had earlier, it was thanks to Emiliano Martinez. You could see during the celebrations, everyone was running towards Lautaro Martinez, but Lionel Messi had to run towards Emiliano Martinez. The same thing happened in this encounter. Everybody knew if Argentina was going to win, it was most likely down to that one man.
Eventually, it was down to 2 men, Messi, Mbappe. But for Messi, one thing was more important, because we've seen France play as a unit all these times throughout the tournament. Mbappe had not even taken any glory except for shining when he has to, scoring when he has to, doing the job when he has to. The same thing he did today. But for Messi, every other person had to come to the party today, and it was like a division of labor. Messi to the scoring, Angel Di Maria to the scoring, who provides the assist, who defends, who does everything. And when it was down to penalties, they had one man that could also do it. And for the part of the players too, maybe they would just have to go and give Hugo Lloris some handshakes eventually. They were not too ruthless with their shootouts, but eventually they converted 4, clean enough and good enough, only for Emiliano Martinez to do the rest, and that was all they needed. So talk about Messi cracking under the pressure of carrying the burden of Argentina. He didn't have to eventually, because every other player stepped up to the plate when it mattered most. And I think when we have to give all the outfield players for Argentina all the glory, I think we should give Martinez more glory. He has proven to be most important, and it means that every player in that team, and even the coach, can go back and sit back to just relax when it's penalties. Martinez is there.
He will deliver.
He's going to do
it's certain. It's as sure as sunlight. All right, one beautiful thing, though, for me was the coaching tactics. It started with Didier Deschamps in the first half, taking out Antoine Griezmann, who many were touting, had to be player of the tournament at some point, took out Olivier Giroud, brought in Tuani, brought in Thuram. You could see what those boys were doing. They actually changed the game, if you ask me. Then, same for Scaloni, who eventually brought on Paulo Dybala, who probably has not touched the ball up to 20 times in this tournament already. Brought him on because he needed I mean, he's one player who everybody knows can. Clinical when it comes to taking penalties. But now the shootouts are, I mean, for me, for everybody, I think it's down to who eventually gets the best of luck. But in the 15 minutes after 90 minutes, what did you see, Biodu?
Mentality came to play, and it even extended beyond the 30 minutes extra time that we saw, because it extended into the penalty. Because in the last 30 minutes, we said at this point it was time to re-strategize and see how you were going to take advantage of any nap from your opponents. Argentina did it first. France thought they were probably defending tightly. That defender must have thought he cleared the ball over the line, but Argentina knew they've scored a goal. They started jubilating. The mentality was there that we were going to push until the last. But on the other hand, too, France were still they were still wearing the garment of their own mentality as well. And they had the most important man for them. he had to drive it when necessary, took a shot, and won another penalty. So mentality came to play in the last 30 minutes, and even during the shootout. And mentality is when Kylian Mbappe even stepped up
to take the very first penalty after taking another penalty just before the end.
Just before the end of the game. So it was just mentality eventually, and I think that is where Argentina had the edge eventually.
I think both of us will agree that the best goalkeeper on the pitch today was Emiliano Martinez. But who was the best defender on the pitch today?
Best defender on the pitch, you have to give it to this Upamecano guy in the heart of the French defense. He had problems from the start. They conceded 2 goals in quick fire.
Yeah.
But from there, he picked it up. Perhaps he didn't enjoy the best of pairing. That must have
It's Rafael Varane, who actually
eventually fizzled out before the end of the game.
Made this guy be onside just for the third goal of Argentina.
Perhaps he didn't enjoy the best of partnership. That let him down during the game. But to have picked up yourself and marshaled the defense as much as possible.
On the French side.
But by and large, I think it was not more a game of defenders because in a game that let in 3 goals at either sides,
the defenders are obviously poor.
It tells you that either the
or
defense
the
line
attackers were fantastic.
It's that the goalkeepers were sleeping or the defense line were not as tight as enough. But if you have to pick out one defender that was very hot and very good, Upamecano was.
What midfielder was most fantastic on the night?
You know, I couldn't even say if Lionel Messi was a forward or a midfielder because
he just wanted to win.
He wanted to win, and he enjoyed his deeper role as much as that. Look at the pass, the slitting pass that set up the last goal, and how they even beat. And before then, even before the first 2 goals in the first half, he had attempted about 16 of those passes. So for someone that did that much, Messi, this guy comes closer. Touchmany, he did some dirty cleaning jobs in the midfield for France. Yeah. They struggled. That was what took the game away from them in the first instance. But they brought themselves back together. And for Argentina too, they had some kind of players who did it, made sure that the lines were clean. Because from the flanks to the midfield, they were going in the same direction and coming back. The rhythm was there. They maintained their position, but they were only let down on one hand side of the field. So I had to pick the midfielder that did the job because when Messi plays in that kind of deeper role,
you are not too sure where he is.
Not too sure.
Who was the best attacker on the night?
Of course, Kylian Mbappe. I mean, how do you conjure 3 goals in a game?
Like you said, Biodun, it was the mentality. They were down 2-0, some few minutes to the end of not just any game, a World Cup final.
You get a penalty.
He busted onto the scene, scored the penalty when you needed him to be very sharp and rash in front of the attack. They're leading the lines. He did it brilliantly, stepped up to take the penalty in extra time, got into the penalties. I mean, just after the 120 minutes, you could see him communicating with the coach. I guess he was probably telling them, let me take the first one. I can take the first one.
Sure.
And he did it, and I've done my job. It
was important. It was very important that he did that. And he's shown leadership. And that is
just
what
23.
Mbappe is what will be left of the French team. So by now he's 23. He will be 27
at the next World
by
Cup.
the next World Cup. So
and 31 at the one after 2026.
He would be a leader by then. So we should start seeing that kind of traits by now. And good for him too. I will keep saying these things. All the records are still there for him to take. At the last World Cup, he had 4 goals. This time around, he has 8 goals. That's 12 goals in total. Yeah. So Miroslav Klose, who has the highest number of goals in the history of the FIFA World Cup, scored 15 or 16.
Yeah,
so
16.
With 16 goals, that means Mbappe is
and he has at least 2
World Cups to play.
If he's not injured.
So if he's not injured, barring anything that will keep him away from the World Cup or France not qualifying, he still has 2 more World Cups. So he's just 4 goals shy away from equaling that record. Adding 1 more to it.
And probably winning more trophies.
Then he will also get more appearances. Messi has 26. Mbappe can still go much more than that.
The man of the moment, without any doubt, Biodun, Lionel Messi. It was written in the stars. EA Sports said it at the very beginning. We discussed it in our very first show here on World Cup Moments. And I can assure you that even people who are probably anti-Messi are celebrating because what a deserved victory. He fought for it. We saw an unusual Messi at the World Cup, and a Messi that was throwing salt at his opponent, a Messi who was attacking a coach as huge as Luis Van Gaal, a Messi who was on air using certain words he will certainly not use in a Messistic circumstance, a Messi who just needed the World Cup and got it.
He's goated, I must say. And on the other side, on the lighter note too, Before I read EA Sports or went into Logic or anything, I think the first person that said Argentina was going to win the World Cup was Femi Daudu.
Yeah.
Jokingly.
Yeah.
Jokingly.
I remember I had the video then where it was saying
Argentina
was
will
going
win
to
the
win the
World
World Cup. Argentina was going to win the World Cup. Yeah.
Logic is goated eventually because we've said it. We've seen a team lose the first game of the tournament and going on to win it. When Saudi Arabia beat them in the first game, silently, many of us knew that they probably will go on to leave this trophy.
They've brought back 2010 spirits, like it happened to Spain.
So that means
the very first game.
So that means the logic
to
will be
win the
there
World
to
Cup.
stay. If you see a team losing the first match of their World Cup campaign,
Be careful.
if they are favorites, just be
careful.
careful. They might just be on their way.
But this World Cup has shown us lessons from the World Cup now. This World Cup, for me, I think it has shown us that, like Mourinho said, you just need 7 games to win the World Cup. Nobody knows what team you belong to. Nobody knows how bad your team is.
Grind.
7 good games, 7 fantastic games with luck on your side and everything favoring you. You can be world champion.
Just grind, 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 and grind. And this final that we saw is a typical example of grinding the results. Don't just slip back. Don't get laid back, except you're playing in the group stages where you know that, okay, some results might have been favorable or not. But when it's in the round 16, up until the last stage, your destiny is totally in your hands, and you have to grab it. And maybe on the other side of football, let's just continue to focus on football. There were a lot of distractions before the start of this tournament.
But football still succeeded.
The biggest lesson is that the football has won eventually.
Yeah, football won.
This World Cup will go down in history as one of, not just the most expensive, but one of the best World Cups in the history of the FIFA Men's World Cup.
£220 billion well spent.
Of course, and I'm not sure any World Cup will be as expensive as that because Qatar had to build everything from scratch, and that is why it is this expensive. But eventually, by now, they will be sitting back and reaping the rewards and looking at what has happened in the last 29 days and look at how they themed the closing ceremony to moments to remember forever. We will always remember this one.
We will not forget very quickly. 2026 Nigeria should if we don't do if we don't bring on our behavior, we should most likely qualify. What lessons? Do you think the Super Eagles has what it takes?
You know, at some point when this one was on, a lot of people said they will learn the lessons of not going to this World Cup by the time the tournament was on. Now it's over. It's time for us to turn our attention. I'm sure a lot of Africans would have learned something, one or two things from Morocco. So
they were not fantastic just before the
and you will be surprised that by the next AFCON, Morocco might not even win the tournament.
We may not hear them again.
But they will be the best African team from now until whenever they continue to play games, and the next FIFA rankings will say they are no longer the best team in Africa and perhaps 11th or 10th in the world. So lessons to learn: structure, development, grassroots. Those are the things that has paid off for Morocco. And talent, sticking to what you have to. I think Africans should be able to get that lesson now, bring it together. There's still enough time between now and 2026.
Just before we go, Biodun, in 2018 we saw 6 goals in the finals of the World Cup, 4 for France, 2 for Croatia. Now we saw another 6 goals in the World Cup, 3 for Argentina, 3 for France. Before the penalties. 6 goals, is that the name of the game now?
From what I saw something in there, is that the new normal? It makes sense that World Cup finals live up to expectations. 2018 was one-sided for me because
2-1
France dominated from the scoreline was even flashing.
2-1 sided,
because Croatia did not even do anything.
They didn't come to the party.
They didn't come at all. But to see a game like this, man, I've not seen a final like this. The last final.
Somebody said anyone with high blood pressure would not be able to watch
that match. So it makes sense that World Cup finals deliver as much as this. So if it becomes the new normal, good for football, good for everybody. And I'm very sure FIFA will be proud of themselves too. They will be milking a lot.
All right, what a tournament it has been to you out there, that man, that viewer watching on your phone somewhere in the trenches, in quotes, watching on your phone in the bus, watching on your laptop, wherever you are watching us from. We are here because you are there. It has been a loaded performance. It has been a loaded package from the very beginning up until now. A big shout out to everyone in the studio who has made this possible. In no particular order, I'll be mentioning Sulaimon Adeniyi, fantastic man who brings smiles to you through us, because if this person is not there, we won't be here. Big shout out to Itunu Dosekun as well. Fantastic man behind the camera, doing a brilliant job. Lekon Olabode as well, one of the great guys on the team, doing a very wonderful job as well. Lekon Adetunji as well. Brilliant performance he has brought to us. Like I said, if these persons are not there, myself and Biodun and the 1 minute wonder, the one performance wonder from Ahmed Fati, we will not be there. Last but not the least, the man that predicted that Argentina
was going to win.
This was about, I think, 4 or 5 days before the beginning of the World Cup. He said it expressly. In fact, he forgot his bag in the office and came back to tell us that Argentina is going to win the World Cup.
Surprisingly, he was supporting France today.
Well, but somehow picked Argentina. Ola Oluwafemi Daudu, yes, I say it again to erase that error. Oluwafemi Daudu, a producer, super duper producer in flying colors, who has been the king behind the package. Was it Lionel Messi or Emiliano Martinez? One of the two. He was on the bench.
He's goated.
He's goated as well. Thank you very much for being a part of this from the very beginning, from inception up till date. Like I said earlier, if you guys are not on that end, definitely we have no reason being used. So on behalf of Abiodun Adewale, who has been with me back and forth, except on one occasion where Ahmed Fati was standing in for him. Brilliant performance. He didn't give us an Olivier Giroud walkover today. It was brilliant in possession as well. My name is Shegun Odwanyo, saying, keep smiling, keep winning. God bless you. God bless football. God bless Nigeria.